Hi, sensitive souls. Today I wanted to talk to you a little bit about inner resistance and moving through inner resistance. And as you might be able to see and hear, I'm actually talking to you today from the beach, from our very beautiful Mornington Peninsula that we have here in Victoria. And this is a favourite place of mine, and the truth is I almost didn't make it down here today. My husband and I discussed last night, he wanted to go diving. I sometimes dive and sometimes just come to the beach, but when I woke up this morning I had such a huge inner resistance to going, and it almost stopped me from being here. And so I just want to talk for a minute about resistance and listening more deeply to it, so that you know what the truer message is. When resistance arises, it can come out as like a no, or I don't want to, or I feel it as like a pushing away. And if you just listen to that message and take it on face value, it can stop you from doing things that you really want to do. Now, sometimes the message of inner resistance is true and necessary and needed. It's like it can be like a resistance because of not now, I don't, or you telling you really don't want to. But what's more important is to tune into the resistance and not let the inner resistance rule your life, so that you can come back to your heart and take action that's more aligned to what you really want. While inner resistance can stop us from doing things that we want to do, it can also make life generally more difficult, and you can waste a lot of time and energy when there's things that you actually have to do or need to do, and you don't do them because this resistance inside you comes up, stopping you. You end up in a kind of in a conflict and a power battle. You know you have to do it and you don't want to. You put it off, you delay, you procrastinate, and this can get you into trouble at work, particularly where by the commitment you make in your role, there's things that have to be done and timelines that have to be met. So meeting your inner resistance and understanding it better can help you understand yourself and what's needed to help you move through and do what needs to be done. One of the common catch cries that I hear out there is about overcoming, and so you can think you need to overcome resistance. I don't like that term because overcoming to me implies asserting power over yourself, and in some ways it's oppressive. And I think there's actually a better way to work with resistance that's not overcoming, but it's relational. And so relational is more feminine and brings you closer into contact with your own wisdom. It can be more fluid and can lead to longer transformation. If all you do is overcome resistance, you don't really have the opportunity to transform or get to know better what is inside the resistance. And sometimes inside the resistance is a lot of wisdom. So I want to share a few tips about how you can live through resistance and relate to your inner resistance in a more kind and loving way, which may or may not help you to take whatever action you're resisting that you want to take or need to take. But it's a starting point to understand more deeply what's happening inside you. So firstly, when inner resistance arises, just notice that it's there. Just acknowledge, I'm experiencing inner resistance, and take some breaths. And just breathe and ground yourself, and first acknowledge, okay, inner resistance is here. And then when you're feeling grounded, I just want you to summon curiosity. Just become really curious about your inner resistance and what is happening for you. Curiosity is a really essential tool in doing any kind of inner work or trying to transform your life, because it's not judgmental. And if we're otherwise questioning ourselves and really looking at ourselves in an analytical way, it can close down sensitive parts of yourself, and you don't learn anything. It can be a bit like a turtle kind of pulling its head in, locked down. You're not going to get any wisdom out of yourself. So curiosity is gentle and open, and wanting to learn from yourself and your own experience. And so with your gentle and loving curiosity, just kind of becoming aware of your inner resistance and you're tuning into it a little bit. You don't need to go too deeply into it, especially if it's quite big and overwhelming. You can just notice it from a distance and become present with it. Notice where it is in your body. Notice if it has a temperature. Most likely words might emerge, like some of the ones I've used earlier, like no, I don't want to. And you can dialogue and ask more questions if you like. Noticing if there's a shape, a texture, but just really being curious about what this curiosity is like. And I would especially notice if it is, does it feel young? Sometimes our inner resistance come from young parts of us that have split off, and it's one of the important reasons why to tune into and more deeply understand your inner resistance, because young parts that are being split off can sometimes like hijack your life and what you want to do. And that's the likes of when they say no and I don't want to, and you just take that at face value, and as your answer, well, I don't want to, you miss out on things. If your inner resistance is coming from a young part of you, it's important to be really tender and loving and allowing of this young one's experience. And if you can enter into a dialogue and ask some questions. But one of the most important things to do is to find out what this young part of you needs and see if you can give it to it. Maybe it needs reassurance, maybe it just needs some soothing, maybe it just needs your loving presence. And by giving the young part of you what it needs, things can start to transform quite easily. Sometimes it needs more work, but you'll notice that if there's any kind of anxiety, and even like the strength of the inner resistance can start to subside, because you've met this part of you and given it what it needs. So after inquiring into your inner resistance, I then suggest just coming back to your heart. You can put your hand over your heart and just breathing and connecting and feeling your heart. And asking your heart what you really want. What's really true for me? And what's the step I need to take or want to take? You might not want to take it, but it might be one that you need to do, particularly if there's a commitment you need to honour. And just breathing with that and allowing it and strengthening your connection with your heart and what is most true for you. Maybe the truth matches the inner resistance statement to say, no, not now. You don't have capacity. You don't want to do this right now. And it's not right for you to do right now. But by coming back to your heart, you come back to your source of truth and your big self. And you can make choices and take actions that are aligned to you. And with this connection strengthened, the last thing to do is to see if you can take a step that is aligned. I hope you have found this helpful. And sometimes, depending on our life experiences, we may have a lot of inner resistance to different things and different experiences that we want to have. I know myself, I have, and I've had to do a lot of work on transforming my relationship to what we call edges between what we want and the unknowing, big and little. And if you need some help and support to move through your own edges, then please reach out. I'd be honored to support you.